Hello my YouTube friends. So once again we've got another unboxing and review to do. This figure I've had on pre-order for quite a while from TW. I've also been paying it off bits at a time, trying out the payment plan situation and see how that works for us. And for me it worked out pretty damn good, you know. I was paying off just bits of it every month, paying off a little bit of it till it was fully paid off. And this is on second batch order as well, so it was a bit later. And again, I did have the same issue as I've been having a lot lately with them, which is I had to remind them that once I got the thing through to say it had been shipped to us, a week later it still hadn't left the bloody offices. So you know, again I had to get in touch with them, just give them a friendly nudge to say, oh, hang on, you know, where's me figure, guys? I got a thingy through to say he's already shipped it, yet according to your thing it still hasn't left your offices. What's going on? Next thing you know, boom, it's shipped and it's here. It's come through Royal Mail. Again, this one is a hot toys figure. I'll show you. Here we go. There we go. This is what it is. Long time coming for me. I absolutely love this character from Return of the Jedi. You know, it was just when I first seen this character, he was so unique compared to the other stormtroopers you'd already seen. This guy was just a unique character, looked so freaking fantastic, and the fact of the speeder bikes, and that just was amazing. And I do already own a speeder bike from the Return of the Jedi series, not a Hot Toys one, it's not even a sideshow one, it's actually built better than that, maybe like a Hasbro or something like that style one, but it is 1/6 scale, so it will work well with this character. Now again, I thought that, because obviously if you have watched my previous video where I mentioned about the fact is that the shipper that the thing comes in, because obviously these don't come in shippers because it comes direct from Hong Kong, so they don't have shippers, okay, and that they'd used a corrugated, basically almost like paper to put it in. I thought that was maybe just to do with the fact that it was a third party one, not a Hot Toys, and that there would be a bit more thingy with the Hot Toys, but no. Once again, this is coming that same shitty corrugated freaking style paper, just this time round it's sort of in slightly better nick. So is that down to it being gone through Royal Mail or what? I don't know, because I used to work for Royal Mail and I know we didn't exactly take loads of care, you know, but maybe we take more care than what other companies do, because the other one looked like it had almost been pretty much drop kicked, you know. So Royal Mail and I don't drop kick them, we will sort of hide them into the bags that goes to each individual turn, but we're doing sort of drop kick stuff, you know, like I've heard that other companies do. But anyway, getting onto this thing. Nice picture, nice idea on the front, carries on around on the side, your warnings, everything on the back, Star Wars or something. And I know somebody's gonna freaking say straight away, you got the wrong fucking t-shirt on your pleb. I don't give a fuck, where you going? So let's get this thing open anyway. The trails and tribulations of getting them open. Nice picture on the inside as well. It's pretty cool. Like that. And again, slipping that little cover off. Oh yeah, I like that already. Looks pretty damn cool already. You're not going to get as much glare because the light's actually here. As you can see, there's the pole for it there. Getting this thing out of the box as well. I'm getting to see if I can get the first bit of clamshell off. Well, that was easier than I thought. And we have, getting the first piece out, we have this bit. That's nice, sort of weathered and what have you. It looks pretty cool. Yeah, nicely weathered, nicely painted. That's cool. We have his blaster pistol. Again, sort of slightly weathered. Looks nice, nicely done. That's cool. We have a bunch of hands. I'm going to have a look at myself because I'm not sure how So it's not particularly weathered. It's just basically painted. Seems to be no sort of weathering or anything to it by the looks of that. But then again, I ain't got my glasses on, so let's do this. People are gonna see my glasses on now. So there's no really in the way of weathering to it, but it still has sort of decent looking at to it, Then you get basically a few different hands. You obviously have a couple of hands on them, and you do have your fisted hand, which is cool enough. Another fisted hand, one for gripping onto the cycle if you happen to own the speeder bike, and of course another one for the other side in case you own a speeder bike, which luckily I do. Of course, you have as usual your wrist pegs, spare ones. Though again, that's one of the things though, sideshow, I don't really like sideshow pieces. I think they're really sort of, how can you put it nicely, not very well made. Okay, the figures themselves are pretty damn crap when it comes to the idea of being able to articulate them, because they seem to just be so loose jointed that you can't even get them to stand without having a stand. That's thingy, because I don't have many sideshow pieces, but I do have one of the actual clone troopers, and he just won't stand on his own. He just doesn't. The joints are so loose. But one of the things I do love about the sideshow pieces is that every single hand you get from them has its own individual wrist peg in. That's something Hot Toys should learn from sideshow. For what it costs them probably for a bloody peg, why not have a peg in each one of these things? It would be a hell of a freaking godsend, I think, to a lot of people. And we've got now the big gun. And again, look at that thing. That is sweet. There's a nice bit of weathering to it. Looks kind of cool. Obviously, no moving parts because it doesn't need to have it. It's a blaster rifle, not like a rifle that would have thingy where it would need sort of, well, doesn't it? To be honest, I think when somebody's going to put these moving parts on some of the rifles, it's like, it's a great touch, great idea, but when you're going to use it, it's, it's pretty much, it's going to be the rarest occasion where you're ever going to have somebody posing with like a magazine clip in his hand and pushing it into a thingy unless they're telling a story. Other than that, it's already going to be in the gun, not coming out in the first place. But it is a nice touch that they do those types of things, so that you've got that almost a closer sense of realism to it, than a thingy to have all the sliding bolt parts and things like that. It's like great ingenuity, but who the hell's going to use it? It's almost like a waste at times, but it's great that they include it for that fun factor of like, hey, look at this, the part moves, and you're not going to use it, it almost seems pointless in a way that they've went to that level of ingenuity in thingy when it's like not like your character, you're going to have him with his hand on it and pulling it, it's I don't think I've seen anyone pose them like that at all. There might be somebody who's done it, and if I come across one, that's cool, that'll be fucking fantastic to see. But there you go, guys, that's how good that looks. I'm still trying to really again, so I don't like having myself on the bloody camera. Doesn't help that I'm an ugly bugger, but there you go. That looks pretty cool. I like that. Bringing himself in hand, actually quite a weight to him. It's quite nice that it's got a bit of weight to the character. But before we get on to actually showing you him, we've obviously got two different styles to the base. One's basically it's just plain brown. You know what I mean? I don't really freaking use these things if I can help it. Does have Star Wars Scout Trooper on a nice metallic thingy, which I do. I always like the fact that they put metallic ones on the Star Wars ones. I think they should do it with everyone. It just has a better feel about it for those that do happen to use them. I mean, some people get their own thingies made. And then you've got this sort of I think you may be able to peel the back off and stick it down, but I wouldn't do that anyway. I wouldn't really think. But I mean, that looks pretty much sort of decent and looks better sort of thing. That's probably how most people would probably have it, is with that on. Because obviously the way out. And then of course you have your normal crotch grabbing thing. Okay, which again, like I say, I tend not to use them. I do leave them out of the thingy and put them into a placard bag with the rest of the stuff, just in case I ever do need them. Instead of just going hunting for the box again, which is always up in my loft. So I put that in that box and put all these little bits and pieces, because you see these are kind of cool. I'm trying to think like where that one will go, because by the looks of it, the back end again, you can see it must slip on to probably the back of his belt, which I always hate these. It's like, why do you have it so it comes off? If it's something that's part of his thing, why have it so that it comes off? Just put it so it's on and stays on. It might make it a bit easier for everybody that's thinking. But you know, the guns and everything are pretty damn cool. I like them. Down there for the time being. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a slight cut, because I've got to get all these little plastic bits off. I mean, the boots ones, that's not so bad, I've got that one off. But it's the handheld ones that's going to be a bit more tricky. You know, and that boot one doesn't want to come off again, and that's sort of pretty much stuck on because of the fact is it's got a thingy on this side. So I'm going to sort of do a cut thingy now and get these things off, and then we'll carry on from there. Okay guys? So for you, so it's literally a split second thing. For me, it's been a couple of minutes when I've got the things off, because I even had to take the wrists off because he had a bit of plastic going around the joint here. So I had to take his wrists off, which is not a good thing. I don't like taking the wrists off straight away, especially when it hasn't had a chance to bloody warm up out there. But this in hand straight away, I'm loving it. You know, it's so cool. Like I say, it was an iconic thingy for me when I first watched Return of the Jedi and saw the Scout for the first time. I literally straight away was like, wow, he looks so fucking cool. Yeah, and he still does to this day to me. You know, it's one of those great things. That to me, it's just like, it just looks looking fantastic. And the fact that you can see sort of the weathering to it looks great. This is the bit that I don't like. Is obviously this is basically they've used the Mandalorian style helmet. Because that wasn't like that in Return of the Jedi. And there is a few people may have done some sort of thing to make it work, but for me, I look at it and I just think that is too much for me to be messing around with, because I don't know whether it's even on a hinged joint or not. So I wouldn't mess around with it. I'd rather leave it alone, because it still looks just as cool on its own like that, you know. So I'm not that fussed, and it's just like weathered. He looks like he's been out there for a while, and I like that. I think it looks absolutely cool. Same with his like top part. Even his thing is all weathered, got dirt and grime and all that type of stuff to it, and everything about his shoulder pieces and everything. His arm pieces, you know, they just all look absolutely spot on. His gloved hands, his legs seem a lot cleaner than what they probably need to be. They should have been dirtied up, because his groin area, you can see, looks sort of dirty white. Yeah, then the black, and I know black doesn't obviously show as much dirt as what the things do, but they should still show a little bit of dirt and grime to them. And the boots, I think the boots look brilliant. Even though sort of the material it is, it's a soft thing material, so it does allow for a lot of articulation, which is what you would need in a character like him. Yeah, and the boots itself look beautifully worn and dirty. Yeah, you can have the thingies on the bottom, or those that like seeing the bottoms of people's feet. Yeah, it's really cool. Now, one of the things I'm not keen on, okay, and I'll tell you this straight away, it's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. Now, that might be a hard thing for you to understand, but let me get to it. It's these plastic, these sort of rubber, it's like an elasticated bit that holds these on. It's good because it means you've got manoeuvrability when you're trying to pose things up to move them around and get them out your way and stuff like that. But if you've ever owned Predator style figures that have exactly the same thingies on them, over time these bits seem to start to give and start to wear down and start to allow much more motion, and they just drop down and look ugly. So that's one of the things I don't like about it, is that elasticated stuff seems to eventually over time start to give and start to almost lose its elasticity. It just spreads and spreads and spreads to a point where it doesn't hold the damn thing up at all. And like I say, I've had that with a few Predators where they've got these things on them, and especially on the knees, and they just won't hold the damn things up anymore. So it's, I think, because it's got the same thing on the knees itself. It's the elasticated thingy. Again, it's something that right now it gives you the chance to move them around so you can get them into position to pose them up. But over a period of time, they eventually start to give, especially if you're doing a lot of posing with your figures, and it just doesn't work. You've got at the back here like a flap. I don't know what these are supposed to be for. They're supposed to like represent the pocket or something, because you would think if they would represent the pocket that they would have it sewed all around. But you've got this flappy bit to us here, which again is like sort of high. He's probably got a bit of a fat suit on underneath, so that, because that's sort of padded there. This thing's nice and squishy, but again it's not, you can't open it because it's been sewn down, which is a bit of a shame, because it would have been nice to be able to open that and put something in there yourself, because that's what it would have been. It would have been a pocket. But the fact it's not, well, it's fine. It's not a big deal. It's not a fucking deal breaker. It's just one of those things, it's sewn down, but it still looks damn cool. Articulation wise for the head, you can see he looks down a hell of a way. I mean, that's a damn good bit of articulation for his head looking down. Again, looking up, he's got quite a bit looking up. Head tilt. In fact, it'll turn completely wrong anywhere you want. Shoulder wise, it's going up about there and it's staying up. I'm just doing, does it have, you see the fat suit under here, it does have a butterfly joint by the feels of it, but you're not going to get much thingy out of it because the fat suit itself is actually stopping it. Just think it's hindering the lifting of it up. Trying to move it forward is going to be something else, because I can't even get that to move forward at the minute. I knocked the thing off the back of them again. So that's come off, which was, again, wasn't as bad as what I thought to get on, but it's still a pain in the arse to have to do. When, if it's something that stays on his thingy, why didn't they just mould it on or have it so that it was thingied on, so it doesn't come off full stop, and then I wouldn't have that freaking hassle of it falling off. To try to get his arm to go forward, you can see, look at the hassle I'm having here. For some reason that doesn't even want to go forward. Now it's supposed to be able to go forward because I need him to be able to put his arm forward to grab onto onto the bike. So I don't know if it just needs his arm twisting, because obviously you've got to twist at the bicep. But right now, trying to work that forward to show you the articulation forward, it's basically the suit, or the fat suit underneath, is really causing an issue to, and I don't want to friggin' snap it, because I don't know how easy it'll be to get a replacement from the likes of Toys Wonderland, because even that one, literally straight from the thingy, I haven't moved it at all, and that just doesn't want to come forward, which is a bit awkward to say the least. I'll sit back a little bit because my chair's making a bit of noise. See if we can move this thing a bit further forward towards us, because it's on the table. But I say that's like literally, I'm trying to mess around with it slightly to see if I can. Don't worry, that is supposed to happen. We are on Velcro, so it is there for you to be able to move it around. I'm just having trouble getting this thing to move forward to try and show a thing, which is pretty bad when you consider that, straight from the box, I should be able to to move his shoulders forward. So anyway, he does have a good double bend at the elbow. Does have the wrist peg, your normal style wrist peg, so you're gonna have to fuss with it to get it in the correct position. But it's that shoulder joint, you know, it's got me concerned that it's like, really, how am I supposed to think, because it doesn't seem to rotate forward and backwards that easily, you know, and I just don't know whether it's just the fat suit stuff causing that, or whether the arm, when it's been thingied in, is in the wrong position for it to be able to move forward, and I need to be able to twist his bloody arm completely run, which again, that's not going to be easy to do, because you're going to have to bloody move it run inside the fat suit to get to it. So that's, I ain't ideal, but it does have the swivel at the bicep, and it does have the butterfly joint that way inside of there, but for some reason trying to get the arm to come forward is nigh on impossible, which isn't good news. I'm going to have a look at other people's reviews and see if they manage to get theirs to move forward, because I'm struggling with that one. Yeah, and I think it's something that it needs to be able to move forward in order for it to grab a hold of the thingy. Waist articulation wise, again, you're not going to get much, because the simple fact is the suit here just isn't going to allow for it, you know. It's just, it's not, you have got twist, but again, it's not exactly going to stay in those positions that well and that readily. Leg does go out nicely, which again it needs to, because it needs to be able to get onto the bloody cycle, and because it's the type of material that the pants are, it will sort of split sort of nicely, like you will be able to do the splits without splitting the material. That's probably the best way to put it. You know, leg going forward, again, the articulation always on hot toys is bad for going backwards, you know, it doesn't go backwards. It's simple as that, they never have. So it's one of the things you going forward is okay. Bend at the knee, it's a double bend, you get loads of things, and again, of course, the articulation in the foot, you get absolutely loads of that because of the way things. It does make the boot slightly unsightly at times with something, but it's something you can live with to have. Or maybe you can't, but I can live with it just for the simple fact of getting a lot more articulation out of it. You know, I want him to be able to go on his bike, because that's what the whole point of having a bike is. That's why I want his arms to be able to go forward. I mean, it's going forward there slightly, but as you can see there, it's kicking right out, which that's going to make it hard for him to grip onto the bike when he thinks I'm going to have to basically sort of bend his hand in like that and hope that he can lean forward far enough for that to thing, you know, because that's as much as I'm getting. Yeah, his arm is actually sort of, it's like that. He's kicking out like that, which is fair enough, because sort of most sort of normal motorcycles he would sit like that anyway, but on the speeder bike he may have to be leaning sort of like forward like that to date, which might make it a bit more awkward. We'll find out, but you can sort of get it up. It's just, I think that sort of slightly thing in the articulation to it. But other than that, guys, you know, I still love this character. I'm going to literally probably nip upstairs now to the other man cave and get his bike down, and let's see if I can get him to sit on the bike for you, so that we know, you know, will it work? It'll work. It's gonna work. It's just a case of how easy and how much faffing I'm gonna have to do to get it to work. But other than that, guys, yeah, he looks fantastic. I'm so glad I got him, and I got him at a reasonably good price. You know, I got him, like I say, a second batch, so it didn't cost us a huge amount, and I am so delighted I got him. Though again, he came down in price in the bloody thingy right after I'd already barely paid him off, and he was thinking, you know what I mean, and he came down in price then, and I was like, god damn, do I get another one? So I've got two of them, and I was like very, very tempted, but I thought, well, no, I need to get this first one first, and there's other figures I want to bloody buy that might be slightly more thingy than getting a second one of these, but I do think having two of these would look really good to sort of, especially if you want to do something from the Mandalorian style thing, and you've got the Mandalorian speeder bike, then, you know, having two of these things, even though this isn't technically from the Mandalorian, how much difference is there between this one and the Mandalorian one? You know, I don't know. But to me, this is good enough, and this would pass for me, you and liking to be in either one of the things, you know. But like I say, I think this looks cool. I'm now literally going to go up and get his bike and see if I can get him on the bike, and I'll sort of put that in as an added footage at the end for you. But there you go, guys, that's him, you know, and I think you can see it, he just looks absolutely brilliant. Yeah, sort of one of the different styles to a trooper that's sort of unique, and just I love this, and it had to be the one from Return of the Jedi, because that's the bike I've got, and that's when the first time I ever saw these, and the first time I ever saw it, I went, yeah, these are cool. But I'll go and get the bike. So there you go, guys, he is on there. It's not a perfect fit by no stretch. I mean, his hands are on there, they're all bent. He doesn't really need to move his shoulders as far forward as what I thought they might. The only issue I've really got is the back end here. From that angle, it's not so bad, but you can see like that. He's more like he's standing on it rather than actually sitting on it. You know, and I think that's possibly to do with the fat suit not allowing him to sort of bend forward the way I want him to, in order to make him look like he's actually sitting on it. You know, and I know a lot of times they'll tell you as well, put your hands on the thingies before you try to put them onto the figure. I found that impossible. You know, when you've got these things that move and this thing that moves, when I'm trying to push the peg into the thing, these will just keep getting in the way and moving. Same with this thing, if you're trying to grab it from there, you know, trying to just push it from the elbow joint, I would have had to take this off, then I wouldn't get anybody back on again. So it was a nightmare. So I just went shit with that. I just put the damn hand on his wrist peg and then got it again onto the bike. That's the way I've had to do it in order for me to get it on. But like I say, this isn't the Hot Toys bike. The Hot Toys bike might be better for thingy, because the foot on this thing doesn't exactly fit on exactly how I'd want it to make it look thingy, but it's working, it's doing the job. It's just like I say, it just looks more like he's not actually sitting on the bike. I mean, I don't know, so you can see there the gap. He's not actually sitting on it, he's standing up from it rather than actually sitting and thinking into the actual seat. Yeah, now maybe that's just something to do with the fact that this is a not Hot Toys thingy, it's a Hasbro one. As you can tell, you know, the thingies aren't going to be as good as the Hot Toys looking one, but it's doing a trick, and it's probably certainly more stable and better made than the sideshow version, which supposedly for a lot of people literally fell apart when they really started trying to really maneuver stuff in that. You know, I don't think there's much in the way of moving parts to this thing. Yeah, there's no sort of, none of these things can move or anything like that, like they can on sort of the Hot Toys and maybe even on the thingy versions of them. But to me, it's good enough to do the trick, to have them on a speeder bike. Yeah, these bottom bits can sort of move, but not very much, so you're not going to get a load of thingy from them. You know, you're not going to have them like leaning right over, but you can have them sort of, you know, leaning slightly over, and he's just not going to have a massive amount of lean, but it is leaning, you know, it's not bad, it looks okay. Yeah. And I think it does the trick for what I need it to in the display. You know, I mean, when you're looking at it from a distance, how much of it are you going to be able to tell just how much different it is from Hot Toys one or something like that, you know? Maybe you can, but only if you had another Hot Toys one next to it. Like I say, for me, is the only major issue is the fact that instead of him looking like he's sitting into it, he looks more like he's standing on it, you know, and that sort of it. It's bugging us slightly, but I don't know how much messing I can do to get him to actually look like he's sitting down. And every time I am messing with it, I keep knocking this damn thing off, which annoys the hell out of us, you know. Why they couldn't have made it so that it was on there and stayed on there and didn't come off full stop, because why would you need to take the frigging thing off if it's part of his uniform? You know, how a Hot Toys man, have a bit of a thingy, just think about it, stuff like that. We don't need to be able to take it off if it's not something that comes off in part of the fucking film. You know, it's not like I'm going to have them crashed and have that thing flying off in a different direction. So, you know, have it so that they stay on, so that at least that way when I'm moving them around, I'm not having to keep on being wary that I've got to try and put this thing back on it again once I'm faffed on and try to get them into a slightly better position. Yeah, because that looks canny from like that, but I know he's not sitting into that thingy, which is slightly aggravating, as you know. It is slightly thing, you know. See, because this one, that these bottom things don't have as much movement and as much give as what the likes of maybe the Hot Toys one does. So if you move it around too much, they're not going to go back up into the right position, because these don't have as much things what maybe like the Hot Toys one might. You know, you can see now that foot's not on it, and it won't sort of jump into position. So I've got to like basically try and juxtapose his foot and move it around to see if I can get it back into a better position, so it looks almost like his foot's on there. Yeah, so it's close enough, because one of them, that one sort of is resting on there, but the other one isn't. So, but there you go, guys. It does work. It does fit on. It looks okay, and from a distance it'll look decent enough for me to be happy. And I love this character. And again, you get your guns there, so if you wanted to have him stood next to it with his rifle, his sniper rifle or something like that, then that's cool. But for me, there you go. I've got my next thingy there for my Return of the Jedi to go upstairs into my cabinet, or sit on top of the cabinet, and I'm quite happy with that now. It's cool. This is a type of character that I would think I would buy in a second one at a time when I've got sort of more money available to spend, and maybe there's a dry spell with Hot Toys, and maybe if Toys Wonderland again have some sort of magical sale on where they're getting released for next and out again, it would be something I would definitely look at and, hey, it's going to be worth picking up a second one, you know. But other than that, guys, this is a fantastic looking figure, you know, and it's a beauty for me. I love it. I'm so glad I've gotten it. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, those that have watched. I really do appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed what you've watched, and I will catch you in the next one. This is the Bearded Nerdy Oaf, and I am out of here.
So what I believe you were trying to say is thank you.
Thank you?
You're welcome.
What? No. I didn't. I wasn't. Why would I ever say that? I mean,
Okay.